Good morning, Miss Shawna. How are you?
Good morning, sister. How are you?
Hey, Shawna.
Hi, honey.
See you.
Yes.
We'll swap that. Our voices sound so much alike. All right, let me see if... Oh,
You and Liza, right?
yeah, this is Liza. I'm going to put my camera on, but Sistergirl, I see you look so cute. You done... What happened to you?
I'll put my hair
How you looked last time I saw you.
She saw me straight out of bed.
Love it.
All right. Well, Sistergirl, why don't you introduce our guest, and I will see if I can get myself on camera here.
Absolutely. So I'm happy to welcome Shawna Halley. She owns a company called Prism of Transformation, and she is a life evolution strategist, author, and success speaker. And I met Shawna last year, and anyway, I thought it'd be great to have her on to talk about sort of how to start the new year off with some positivity, some release of negative stuff that we've all been dealing with. And anyway, so Shawna, if you could just tell the audience a little bit about yourself, your story, how you came to do what you do now.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Good morning. It's a great Sunday morning. We have just a few more days before the new year. So it's exciting to be here. Thank you, Kelly, Sistergirl, and Honey for the opportunity to speak now. But my background is basically I've been an educator for over 17 years. And I've also been an author and a poet. I guess I've been a poet since I was a teenager. I lost a lot of my work that I've done, and life happened. So I'm back on track now, so to speak. But my journey in the USA, because I'm originally from Guyana, South America. My journey in the USA began when I was 16.
Hang on, sorry, real quick. You said South America.
Guyana, yeah.
South America?
South America.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah. Am I talking too fast?
No, I just...
Okay. Just tell me slow down, because when I get excited, I can move. So part of my story, when I came to the USA, I had a bit of a culture shock because things were different, When I left Guyana and came to the U.S., in Guyana, we were wearing uniforms and our hair was braided and all that. Came to the U.S., the girls were wearing lipstick to school and, everything was kind of a little bit bigger. So that kind of put me in a shell. And then to compound matters, I became a mother of 4 by age 25. So my dream originally was to be a child psychologist and also to be an actor and be a singer. But, motherhood was a priority for me. So I went down that road, got married, went through a couple of abusive relationships, emotional, some physical, and then eventually got divorced. When I realized that, I don't want to stand in the shadows. I call myself a goddess. So, and I believe all women are goddesses. So I made a decision to stand out and to choose my destiny over, what was expected to me as my duty towards life. And, for many years, I've been teaching adult education now for over 10 years. And it's been a passion of mine just to see women rise and enter into a passionate love affair with themselves. And I know sometimes people think of that and they say, well, what does that really mean? It means that you put yourself first, because you can't give what you don't have. And if you have to pour into yourself. So Sistergirl, is like you asked me for an orange. If I don't have it, I can't give it to you. So if someone asks me for love, if I don't put love into me, what am I going to take out and give to them? So it's like putting things into ourselves that we want to be able to give to others, and we have to give it to ourselves first.
Right. And that's so true. That's so true.
Very.
So when I think, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No. So when I think about, Kelly mentioned 2020, I think positioning is everything. And how are we positioning our mind as individuals? All of us have a background. Some of us have more extreme trauma or hurt or pain than others. But at the end of the day, how am I positioning myself for 2020? And I see 2020 as, having sharp vision, being really clear, and how the past affect me is how I put attention on it in the present. So I guess at the end of the day is asking myself, what do I want in 2020? And am I following the rules of someone else, or do I really know what I want? And going forth with that. And sometimes we're not sure what that should look like. But I think the one thing we can be sure of is, do I want to be happy? And what does happiness mean to me? And again,
good questions.
Good
questions. Very good.
Yeah. And sometimes people, the best way to find out what you want is know what you don't want. And once you can spit out, this is what I don't want, then the opposite is what you do want.
I remember when we first met, you had asked me something along those lines of like, what is it, that you want? And I did not know. You're like, what do you see? And I just didn't see anything, because, this is getting personal and the audience doesn't know my story, but my life has been just headed in a completely different direction where I thought it would be, which isn't a bad thing, but I had to adjust, and figure out what it is that I want. And when I met you, I didn't know and I couldn't see it. But thinking about these things, asking yourself these questions, tackling it from the reverse, like you said, what is it that you don't want, really helped me to find some clarity and get on the right path with happiness.
Yeah. And you know what, guys, I understand sometimes people are at a place where they're so overwhelmed or so frustrated with life. It's like, I don't even know where to begin at this point. So one of the exercises I like to get people to do is sitting in the seat of appreciation. What does that really mean? Instead of looking so far into the future, like we're doing for 2020 right now, is ask myself, what is it that I don't have to worry about in the next 24 hours? And that can really bring some relief to my present mind, to my present state, versus worrying about something next year or worrying about something next month. What don't I have to worry about, like in the next 24 hours, in the next week? And once we start to focus on that, then we find that we get a little bit of relief, and then we can really start to strategize and make plans for what it is that we do want to experience in our lives.
Right.
Well, I love, you have a book out, and I'm not sure when you wrote it. I'm sure you can tell me, but the Lost and Found book, Lost and Found Through Devastation, Not Determination. I love that because I feel I completely relate with that, because I was not on a journey to find myself either. Determination. It was from devastation. But if you could talk a little bit about that for a second, that would be great.
Okay, so the book, Prism of Poems, Lost and Found, Not from Determination, but Devastation, actually was birthed when I invested in a business, and I had savings, I had money saved up and in my retirement and all that, but I took a leap because I have a business mind. So I took a leap and invest that money, and the partnership didn't work out. But one thing I did find out from that is that it was a lesson I paid for. That's how I look at it now. Of course, back then it was like, oh my God. And it even got to the point where I wanted to die. I wanted to just give up and not even, because no money, no more savings, no account where I can go pull some money out of. And then on top of that, I wasn't working because I had invested my time. I had given up a full-time job and was working in the business, but the partnership didn't work out. But at the end of the day, that brought me to the point where I am now in a more positive way, because I see everything, going through that journey, wanting to give up, and then trusting that life is going to work out for me after the fact, because, I wanted to give up, of course. And then the universe, God, whatever, people call the higher source, said, girl, I'm not done with you yet. You're just beginning. That was just a lesson. You're going to be okay. And the interesting thing about it is that resources start to show up. It wasn't as much, it's almost like I had to trust uncertainty that it was going to show up. And Kelly, it did.
Yeah.
Honey, it did. It showed up. Everything I need. If I stop worrying about it, it started to show up. The rent got paid. It was month by month, honey, but it got paid. I found jobs, because I'm very skilled. I mean, I know it. I admit it now. I'm a goddess, of course. But at that point, I was so low, I couldn't even see beyond where I was, that circumference of where I was standing.
Yeah.
So.
And it's like you get covered up with the problems and you can't see a way out, because it's so, things can be overwhelming and just feel like you're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And can't make a difference. And when your life gets devastated, I like how you were talking about how you were forced to look inward for your worth, because you lost everything on that outward side.
Right.
I've been there. I'm recovering, but it really does make you focus on what your value is from within yourself.
Right.
You have the belongings and you don't have things. Your value is, it all is, whether we have stuff or not. Our value is within ourselves.
Right.
We just have to find that and nurture that.
And what I found out through that experience as well is that the friends I had, for some reason they became void. Family I thought was going to be there, for some reason they weren't there. So again, I had to go within myself. And the lesson in that is trust what's within you, because the treasure that you have is within you. Everything outside of you is always changing and transitioning and moving around. But what is constant is your relationship with yourself. Mm-hmm. What is constant is that I can trust my source. I'm not this body, but the power within me that is greater than any situation or circumstance I can ever face. The power within me. And then when you start to trust that power, then it's like you're looking outside now and you see a beautiful place, because the beauty comes from within and it reflects outside. And everything around you start to transmute, and people that are supposed to support you now have room to support you, because the ones that don't want to support you start to move away because they can't stand your brilliance.
That's great. I love that. Real quick, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to take a second to introduce Billy, Jim, and Capanon, who are also with us in the chat room. And you've also, yes, hello. You've also had some folks out in chat saying good morning and God bless you, and starting to make some connections here. So I just wanted to set that up and let you know. And I didn't mean to interrupt. It just felt like a good moment to get that.
What popped into my head when you were just talking, Shawna, was about how, for the last, not to get too political or anything, but for the last 10 years or more, a lot of us in this group have, we're dealing with a lot of betrayal. And we're starting to learn to trust our own guts, because we've all known that something hasn't been right. And we've all been sort of separately feeling this together.
Mm-hmm.
But when you find other people that agree, that validate your concerns and your worries, and then we all realize the truth of the matter, how can we as a group get, I guess, or individually, really, just some words of advice about trusting your own gut, and then
and accepting how to trust others, that you may not have been able to, you may not have felt like you can trust many for a long time. So it's, a new opening for people to be in this position for some.
Okay. So one of the things I learned about trust, because in my experience as well, and it came out in my first book, betrayal, what is real is always present in me. And once I go to that place where I realize that, I and this may sound very different, or it may sound like I don't have the understanding of some individuals, but I've been a lot of places and I've had a lot of experience with a lot of hurt and pain myself that I am still working through. So if I say what is real is present in me, that means I have to trust myself. And when I trust myself, then and know what I want, because a lot of times people who come to us is a reflection of us, or a reflection of something that we need to work on. And sometimes we don't want to admit it. Let me just be straight up. Sometimes we don't want to admit that sister, if she shows up in my presence one day, she's reflecting something to me that I probably have within me that I'm not sure about. So it's not always projecting it outside, but asking myself, what is it about this person that I need to, what are they showing me about myself that I need to work on? If that makes sense. So betrayal, and a lot of times, again, it goes back to, sometimes we want something from someone and they're not capable of giving it to us. But we don't know that. We just know that we need this right now.
Right. And we feel like they should know that we need it right now. When
yes.
They
and
don't.
No, they don't. And people are not mind readers. And some, like you said, mentioned Sistergirl, that sometimes we expect them to know. But I think from my standpoint is, tell people what you want. And I think I heard on the call, the conversation you guys were having earlier, someone was saying, if they're not going to do it, you go ahead and run for the office.
Right.
So sometimes we expect for them to do something. They don't want to do that. They have their own agenda.
That's right.
And whatever our agenda is, then we need to collaborate and come together and decide, okay, this is the direction we're going to go as a group. So the betrayal part of it comes in when I trust that what my motives are right for what I want.
Yes, exactly.
My motives are right, and I'm willing to do what it takes to stand for that, as a body. And you guys sounds like y'all are doing a great job already, standing up together.
Well, it's amazing what this channel has done, and how it's been a magnet for all of us.
Right.
Yeah, it's great. And then to know that there's other people that are like-minded for us to see each other and not feel alone. And it's great.
And it's interesting that you said that, we're a magnet for each other. You see, wherever you want to be in life, start to practice being that person. I know some people say, you've heard the saying, fake it before you make fake it until you make it. Well, faking it is practicing being the person you want to be, because all of us have things in our past that we don't want to bring into the future. But we got to practice. We got to fake the person we want to be after a while, because the habits we have now have been practice habits anyway. It's stuff we've been doing for years and years and years. Now it becomes automatic. So we have to practice that new behavior, that new mindset, so that the person we are looking forward to being is going to show up automatically, instead of just having to force them to be there. And we can create that new mindset, that new outlook on life for that 2020 vision.
Right. Speaking of, I just lost my train of thought. we were talking about, okay, so yes, we have, the audience you're speaking to today, as Sister Girl said, we are all going through, have some similar things that we have, in common, like this feeling of betrayal and stuff, and learning so many things that are just beyond what we could have ever imagined. And so, we are processing that, as well as, some grief and just, faith in, trying to hold on to our faith in humanity, I guess. But as well as that, there's also some here who, they can't, like, they don't have the physical abilities necessarily as many of the others. I mean, we've got young, old, many races, many economic status here. But one thing is also we have some, many disabled veterans, or not necessarily veterans, but, non-veterans as well, that are, feel like they have found a place that they can contribute and stuff. So, I'm not sure exactly what the question is in this. Maybe, maybe speaking to them to some extent on, what, what they are, they're all finding what they are truly capable of. We're seeing great things from everyone involved, but I'm sure there's some that could probably use a little encouragement, maybe, or, maybe some sort of guidance on how to, if they aren't at that point yet.
Okay. So I think what's always important when we are on our healing journey and moving into a different place, where the first thing is to accept ourselves where we are. And that's not an easy thing. That is not easy when everything around you is saying, what? When everything around you is saying, why should you accept yourself? But the first place to always go on the healing journey, I find in my journey, was to pause and ask myself, Shawna, what is it that's good about you? What is it that's good about you? What value do you know that you're bringing to the world? And sometimes we forget, when we're in pain, we forget that. And that's why it's important, as you guys have this community here, for people to be reminded of some of the things that brought them to where they are, in the sense of, you are important. You are alive today because there's still more work for you to do, and there's somebody that needs you. So instead of sometimes looking at our situation as a curse, how can we look at it as a blessing, to say, okay, somebody's in my position. How can I help myself so I can help them? And like I said, that's not an easy thing. That's not easy at all. But again, it's just that one step. What is one step I can take? Maybe I can't even think about tomorrow.
Right.
Because I know I've been, in the mindset of suicide, and it's like, tomorrow? I can't even think about tomorrow. All I'm thinking about how to exit this place.
Right.
So it's, what about right now? What can I do, like, right now? It could be within the next minute. Who can I call? And sometimes, I don't know about you, have you been in that place where you pick up the phone to call somebody you knew was going to be there and they're not?
Yes.
Didn't answer the phone?
It was.
Whatever reason. Sometimes you call 5 different people because you want to do this, but you don't.
Right.
It's like you see there's no other way out. But at the end of the day, I think all of that goes back to within myself and asking. And I find journaling to be very important.
Journaling
is like taking that heavy load off of my mind and putting it on the paper. It's taking it off of me. And one of the other things I want to suggest is that, when we're going through really hard times, I don't know if you've heard this before, but you guys know you can schedule a time to meet with your problem, right? Sounds crazy, doesn't it? So my problem, but the craziest things does work. So my problems show up today, and I don't have time to deal with it because I have so many other things I'm dealing with. I can say, hey, hold up, wait a minute. can I meet with you on Monday at 2:00? And what that does is like a child. How many of us have children? Our children show up and they want our attention. And if we just shush them off, right? Say go away or ignore them, they'll find another way to come back. And sometimes it's tantrums, right? Or in a way that's not very appropriate. So our problems are the same way. They're showing up to be resolved. They're not showing up to cause us problems. They're showing up to have resolution, because everything needs resolution. And when it shows up, you say, okay, can I speak with you on Monday at 2:00? Then that gives you time to work on the solution, because the problem and the solution can't have space at the same, share the same space at the same time.
I like that.
And when you make that appointment with your problem, make sure you keep it. Because guess what? You're ready to handle it because you have a solution. You made room for the solution.
Right. And also sort of like your subconscious, if you make an appointment to deal with the problem later, and you do, a lot of times we get answers before the appointment,
It usually does. We usually do, because again, you made room for it. Mm-hmm. Because it's like the solution can't come if the problem is in its place.
Yeah.
Everything takes up space. Our thoughts takes up space as well.
You're right.
Yeah.
I love you told me one time about it's just so important to schedule things that are important to you, because if you don't schedule something, it's that it's like a vacuum where that time will be replaced with something else if you don't hold its place.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
You can't let anything slip in except for schedule your important things, including visiting your issues, your problems. I mean, I love how, you talked about how we ask God questions, but we often don't take the time to sit and listen for the answer.
That's true.
Yeah, we ask, and then we just keep on going with our busy lives. And I'm guilty of this. I just hope, I'll say a prayer and hope the answer. Hopefully I'll hear it, but usually I ask for something very loud and clear so I don't miss the answer. But anyway.
I like, I'm just going to add to what you were saying, and that goes back to how we plan our day. We can let someone else plan our day, or we can plan our day ourselves. And I have what I call a 5 Ps mindset, and it's prepare, to be positive and proactive, and practice the process. So how do I prepare for my day? Do I just get up and jump into the day? Or do I, you mentioned, do you pray and then meditate? And meditation, for some people, that's, some people see that as woo-woo. But meditation is, okay, I ask for something. Meditation is being quiet and listening for the answer. Opening up myself for the answer. It's quiet, because when you keep chattering, have you ever talked to a friend and they say something to you in the form of a question, but they just keep talking?
Yes.
So it's almost like you ask a question and you don't want the answer.
Right.
And then throughout the day, things start to happen and we realize, okay, where is the answer? But you didn't stop long enough to listen to the answer through meditation or silence, if you want to call it that.
Right.
And positivity.
Ask the question, listen for the answer.
Mm-hmm. And the answer may not come in that moment, but throughout the day, you may hear a song that just kind of gives you a totally different idea or allow you to view yourself in a different way. Guys, if there are any questions, just put me on pause because I can talk.
Do you see any questions out there, Honeybee?
Not so many questions as much as little things like, for example, Sludge Pumper said that one day, someone said, you're important being here. And it didn't really mean much at the time. I've lost the actual quote there, but it stuck with him, that someone came in, when he came in and said, it's important, you're important being here. And we also had Judith Bateson, back in the bit here in the thread. She had to take a big leap of faith, and she found herself, her life starting over in a domestic abuse center. If I'm not wrong, please, if I'm wrong, please correct me, Judith. It was a little whiles back, but there's little bits of stories coming out of people, and how they're feeling, and someone said, every morning we should wake up and ask ourselves, how can we be, our best self today, and stuff like that. So yeah, please, anyone, if you have questions or want to share more stories, please do that.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
So the second P is positivity, and being positive, has really made a difference for me. It's like watering something. It's like planting a seed and watering it, making sure I give it the proper nutrients. If I give it what it needs, it will grow, and then it will blossom. And most of us know, when you plant one seed, one apple seed can produce multiple apples, right? When the tree is matured and start to bear fruit. So if we're planting, and again, let's go back to just doing things one day at a time. One day, what am I planting today? How am I preparing for my day? How do I get up? How am I going to show up? You can ask it. We can ask ourselves that question. And I have to. It's been a practice for me for over 3 years now. How do I want to show up today? Never mind what other people are doing. It's all about me, because most of us know, even in this community, that my individual contribution makes a difference to the entire community. And if I show up with a negative attitude, that's going to ripple to everybody else.
Right.
So how do I show up in a positive way? How can I contribute to the greater good of our community, if that makes sense? And that's the first thing, is positive, because positive produce more positive. And for those that may not want to be in that positive space, then they will kind of fall away from you if you have that positivity going for yourself. And then to be proactive. What is it that I want? And then I take at least one step from where I am with what I have. And sometimes, people say, well, I don't have this and I don't have that. But sometimes we have enough to make a phone call if that's what we need. We can write a letter if we must. We can do a little bit of research if we can. Sometimes it doesn't mean that we have to do really huge things. We can do small things. So proactive is, what can I do from where I am with what I have? And all of us have something, even if it's a smile to give to someone when we're walking in and out of a store or something.
That's true, and smiles are free.
They're free, and people love them. And the interesting thing about it is, if that's the one positive thing we're going to do, be proactive about smiling, that the person you smile at might be the only person, you may be the only person that give them a smile that day, or say hello to them that day.
That's true.
It can make a huge impact, yeah.
And we're humans, and we all have our own problems and issues and feelings that change from day to day, minute to minute sometimes. And you're right, just a gesture, just being kind to another person might be a really bright spot in their day.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I've had people smile at me when I've been having a bad day, and it does help. You just don't know what somebody's going through.
You just don't know.
A lot of people I've found, and I've spent years helping kids of various degrees through 4-H, and been advisor and teacher and that, and with all the things that I've done. There was a point in my life when I said, things just looked like, boom, hit rock bottom, couldn't figure out. I found out that once I got in the Word and studied the Word and got through there, I found out in there that journey, and I'd heard this before, every journey forward begins with that first step. Nobody said that first step has to get you, halfway to your goal. It just means that if you only drag a foot forward and drag another foot forward each day, you make some sort of progress. And like you said, a smile to somebody, a good day, you may be the only person that gives them that. But if you're just looking forward, forget about the past. The past is beyond. You're looking forward. You want to make that positive change, even if it's just a smile.
Yeah. And it actually, if you smile at somebody else, it makes you feel better too. I've learned.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Yeah.
We had a question out in the chat room from Kindred Spirit about scheduling. Do you know about 160 hours in a week and how not to overcommit or bite off more than we can chew? Does that mean anything to you?
Scheduling our problems, talks with our problems. I don't know.
I suffer from that melody.
I think part of it is too that we do too much. We think we have to do everything, and the bottom line is, I did a course one time with Darren Hardy. He used to be the publisher of Success Magazine. And one of the things he said in this thing, he said, I think it's Bill Gates that said, if you're going to do a goal, for example, if we're planning for 2020 and you write down 20 things I want to accomplish, take 3 of those things and throw away the rest of the list. And let that be, don't major in the minors. Don't spend so much time in minor things that the major things you want to accomplish don't get done.
I like that a lot.
So make sure that whatever 3 things you choose that you want to accomplish, then every day you should be touching on them. Yeah. Every day you should be doing a little bit, on those things. And like our friend Billy said, sometimes we want to go ahead and have so much, get to halfway through our goals, but at the end of the day, if you're dragging one foot or putting one foot in front of the other, you're making progress. And I think sometimes we don't feel like we're making progress because we're worried about what other people are saying about our progress.
Right.
You say you want to do this. Why don't you have more done? And
yeah.
Because when people start to, the chatter buddies start to chat in our ear, the negative ones, then we become in the point of discouraged because we're worried about we're not making progress because they don't see our progress. And sometimes our progress is internal.
True.
Right.
Sometimes the progress is internal, and it's like a seed germinating. You plant. I don't know if you guys heard of the rhizome with the Japanese bamboo. When you plant a Japanese bamboo, I think it takes about 4 to 5 years before it even sprouts out of the ground. But during that time, you have to make sure that you're watering it and you're taking care of it because it's creating the root system underneath the earth. So when it shoots up in that 4 or 5 years, it goes to about 55 feet in a few weeks. But if the root system is not there, then it will fall over. So sometimes whatever our vision is or whatever we're working on, if we get so concerned about other people, we will give up and let that thing dry out. And some things that we're planting, some vision that we have, takes some time.
Oh, I like that.
And we have to be less concerned about what other people are going to say about us and focus on, this is my dream. I can feel the difference.
Yeah.
And I'm moving forward with it.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Very much. Very much so.
You have to bet. I'd never heard that like that. That be patient. The root system's got to be formed first. It's just like the foundation.
Yes.
You have to start deep into a foundation before you can get a good, strong house built.
Mm-hmm.
That's. I like that. I really, if you don't mind, I'm going to use that myself sometime.
Of course.
That's great.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Judith Bates.
Go ahead.
Judith Bates in the chat says, and don't let the past hold you captive, learning to forgive what you thought was your fault when in truth you gave it all you could. It's excellent words there too.
Yes. You gave, I like, when I think about forgiveness, because I went through a course again, I had to go through a lot of courses to get myself together. And I'm still a work in progress. But, forgiveness, is forgiving something to replace something else. And a lot of times we hold on to things thinking we hadn't done our best. But in every moment, you have done your best. And everything you did, everything you knew how to do at that moment, if that makes sense. And forget, holding on to whether somebody did something to us or whether we thought we did something to somebody. If we're not giving up that, then it's almost like drinking poison and hope the other person will die. Have anyone ever done something to you and then you hold on to it and you just see them happy and, they're just going on with life. And you're mad because they did this to me. And why are they so happy? Because forgiveness is not for them, it's for you.
Yeah.
It's so you can move on with your life and let them, their karma will have to be their karma. But for me, so I can be free and move on with my life, I have to let go of that. And sometimes letting go, I know with my journey, one of the things I knew my grandmother used to do is she had burning bowl incense. And one of the things I had to do was write the people that I felt had hurt me. I wrote their names on a sheet of paper and I said, I love you and I release you. And I put that person's name and I love myself and I release myself. And I think I did that for like 2 weeks. And I burned that. And that was symbolic of me letting go of that person to be whoever they choose to be so I can be and move on and be the person I need to be. So it's all in love. The center of everything is letting go. And it doesn't mean that, people come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And sometimes we try to hold on to seasoned people. And we have to learn to know they serve their purpose. I was their teacher. They were my teacher for this moment, for this season. And we must let each other go. Yeah. And they serve their purpose so I can make room for that next level because we're always growing. We're always becoming more, never less. So that person that can help me to become the more person that I've envisioned myself to be, I have to let this person go so that other person, I can make room for that other person.
That makes sense.
Beautiful.
If not, we're going to be unhappy.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. Absolutely. Like you said, forgiveness is not for the other person. It's for you. You forgive them, forget them, release them. And it's for you. You have to, it builds a certain peace in you and allows you to go forward and it becomes easier to forgive and not hold anything against anyone. And sorry, it's for you. And without you being a solid person, you can't affect somebody else's life.
Exactly.
You can't be a hot mess and say, "Oh, I'm going to help them." If you're a hot mess, you're a hot mess, and you're toxic. You have to look at yourself. Drag that foot forward.
Yeah, we got to look at the ugly truth in order to make it right.
The beautiful thing about, looking at ourselves and embracing our lessons is to just that, see it as a lesson. When we see something as a class, when we see it as a lesson, then we're not so attached to adding negative meaning to it. Even though it might have hurt, even though it was painful, but it's still a process. And like Billy said, once we start to let go of that, it becomes easier and easier. And a way to really know whether you forgive somebody or not is when their name come up, what type of feeling do you have? If you still feel that anger and you feel that, I want to strangle them, you really need to do more work on the forgiveness part of it. And it's mostly forgiving yourself and releasing them because they have a right to live their life And they did. Sometimes we may not realize it. Sometimes we don't agree. But sometimes they did the best that they could. Even when we think about our parents, sometimes, most mothers get blamed for when the kids don't turn out right. Most mothers, it's like
honeybee's
but,
your head.
Don't look at me.
As a mother myself, for myself, I realized, everything I did the best that I could at that time. With the knowledge I have, with the resources I have, I just did the best that I could. And I'm not having my kids hold anything against me right now, because I did the best that I could with what I had.
Yeah.
So
something you were saying reminded me of being refined. Like you were speaking a couple of weeks ago about like you're pure gold, but gold has to be refined in order to be pure. And that's a lot of what our lessons and struggles with life, they're shaping us.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems hard, but there's a reason for it all. We're being prepared. We're being, get the silt out of that dirt, out of the gold.
Right. And it's a process. It's a process when you, like you mentioned, when you take the gold out of the ground, because where I'm from, Guyana, South America, I have cousins that dig for gold. And when they bring the raw gold to the market, they sell the raw gold and then it's refined and made into beautiful jewelry, right? So it's the same thing. Sometimes we don't want to see our soul, our evolution as the same thing. We want to just jump up and let it be what it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not how it works. And I think once we come to that realization, then we're a little bit more, there's no hurry. What's a hurry? Slow down. It's going to be okay. I'm always becoming more. Nevertheless, the person I was last year is a different person this year. And I'm more today than I was last year, because I learned so much more.
Right.
I learned so much more. And I think it was Dr. Bruce Lipton that wrote Biology of Belief. He said that, when you're starting over, some of us think when we're starting over, we're starting with less. No, we're not. We're starting with more experience. We're starting with more knowledge about, whatever it is that we're doing. So when we see ourselves as starting over, and I wish I had gotten this information, back then, but that's okay. I have it now. When we're starting over, we're starting from a place of more.
Yeah.
Because we have so much more experience. We don't have to make the same mistakes anymore. And then one of the things that as we go into 2020 is asking yourself, who's my 5 front row people? Who are the 5 people in my life, the front row of my life? Are they going to be people that help me progress? Or are they people that are going to keep me back?
Right. Well, that's a really important, who we surround ourselves is key. That's every minute of every day. And, that's great advice for the end of the year, the start of the new year. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm really excited about 2020. I see, and I see things that I didn't see last year, of things that I'd be doing, people I'd be knowing, and anyway, well, I'm just excited as to what's going to unfold. And I really like the advice of being proactive, because once you do have some clarity about what you want or don't want, then you can move and be proactive about it. I think, being reactive, the opposite of proactive, is where a lot of people are. And it just gets tiring. I know I was there being reactive to things in my life, and, going the other direction with it it's a lot happier of a place.
So, I know we're getting close to the end. There's 2 R's that I want, our viewers to take away with them is responsibility your ability to respond to any situation that show up in your life. Ask yourself, what would love do in this moment? And sometimes you have to pause. Sometimes we react, but sometimes we can take a deep breath. What would love do in this moment? And then the other thing is represent. How do I want to represent or represent myself in 2020? What type of person do I want to become in 2020 and beyond? And then just consciously take the time to respond, be responsible, how we respond, and then how am I representing myself? How am I showing up? Because greater is he that is in me than he that's in the world. So if there's greatness within me, why won't I show up as a great person? What does that greatness mean to me? What does that greatness mean to me? What does it mean to show up for great? And what if, your God self stood before you? What would you ask? What would you want? How would you want to stand up and be confident? Because you deserve it. You are it. You are the real deal. There's no other you. You can be imitated, but you cannot be duplicated. And there's only one you to contribute to the whole. So how do you want to do that in 2020? And, if anyone wants to connect with me, they can go to my website at www.prismoftransformation.com. I have a couple of freebies, or if you want to sign up for a complimentary session, hey, let's do it.
Excellent. And I got your notes from the website. I'll drop your website link in a second. But your introductory offer, you have a special price in PB 2019 is the coupon code or the promo code if anyone's interested in having a little session with Shawna. And that's the introductory offer. I believe that special price for you guys just through the end of the year is, what was it, $19.99?
Mm-hmm.
And this is not a sales pitch. This is just if anyone wants to talk with her and help get clear for 2020, she's awesome. And
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shawna, for being here with us. We are coming up soon for our close and the hard reset on the channel for the day. But again, I'll drop that link right now, and I just thank you so much for everything.
Yes, and I know Chad appreciates you being here. We have several who, really were touched by some of the things you say. In fact, Billy Jim here in our own Zoom room really seemed to connect with that as well. And I believe I saw someone said, please come back. And of course, you're always welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation. Thank you so much.
And I feel great. I've got some new ways of thinking now to move forward as myself. So definitely appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Miss Shawna, for having taken your time out of the day to come in with us this morning and being here. It's been a pleasure having you. I myself feel blessed just having had you here and shared with us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. And thank you. Guys, continue doing the great work. You guys are needed. The community is great and is what we need at this moment. So I'm so excited to be introduced to you and to continue to follow your work and what you're doing.
Well, we definitely want to have you back because I know you have a book coming out soon. We didn't get a chance to talk about that, but it's called Goddess Awakening. What was tell us the title real quick.
Okay, spiritual. It's a spiritual revelation, and it talks about women. You are 3 feet from gold, and it's important for women to see themselves as goddesses. And again, it goes back to, for those who believe in Christianity, is greater is he that is in me, and if there's greatness within me, and if there's a God in me, then I'm a goddess.
We all are in God. So
That's right.
Gods and goddesses.
Yes.
Anyway, well, thanks again. We'll have you back, and we'll talk some more with you on a different Sunday.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, several saying thank you and God bless her. And excellent. So thank you. Have a great one.
You too. Bye-bye.